The Siege of Tobruk, 1941. During 1941, up to 14,000 Australians were besieged in Tobruk by a German-Italian army commanded by General Erwin Rommel. The Allied forces that defended Tobruk were described by the Germans as being trapped like rats, and rather than being humiliated by this description, the Allied troops gladly took it on, and they've become known as the Rats of Tobruk. Tobruk is considered to be a significant battle because it was the first time a German army was defeated during World War II. And if the Germans had taken Tobruk, it would have given them numerous strategic advantages over the Allies and could have even ended the European War. The first strategic importance is the deep harbour. Tobruk is a small city in Libya on the north coast of Africa. It's surrounded by desert and flat, virtually lifeless plains. Its most important feature, however, is its harbour. It's very deep and can hold very large ships. This means that if the Axis, that's the German and Italian forces, could capture this harbour, it meant they could supply their armies as they pushed across towards the Suez Canal and the rich oil fields of the Middle East. The second reason is the Suez Canal. In 1941, it took 2 to 3 months to travel from Britain to Australia, and if you had to travel around Africa, it actually took you around 6 weeks longer. The Suez Canal is a man-made waterway which provides a shortcut from the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea and then on to the Indian Ocean. This shortcut let the country that control it move troops and supplies much faster around the globe. If the Axis troops could capture it, it would disrupt British troop and supply movements and allow them to take advantage of the shortcut. It would also be a huge step towards the oil-rich Middle East. As you can see from the image there of the canal, that is an aircraft carrier going through there. The Suez Canal is huge. The third reason is oil, still a very important resource in the region today. With the development of war machines such as tanks, aircraft and diesel-driven naval craft, oil had become a valuable asset to any military power. The richest oil fields in the world are found in the Middle East, in countries such as Iran, Iraq and Saudi Arabia. These countries were controlled by Britain during World War II and desperately needed by the Axis forces if they were to win. If the harbour in Tobruk was taken, it would allow the Axis to supply their troops as they moved towards Egypt, the Suez Canal, and finally the oil. In 1941, Australian forces took control of Tobruk. Previously, it had been controlled by the Italians. It took the Australians all of 12 hours to defeat the Italians and take 27,000 prisoners. 49 Australians died in the assault and 306 were wounded. Because of its strategic importance, Germany's Afrika Korps, led by Hitler's favourite general, Lieutenant General Erwin Rommel, tried to take the city back. The subsequent siege lasted 240 days, and while the Australians were able to hold out the Germans for this time, the physical toll was mounting as the heat, dehydration, lack of water, flies, disease such as dysentery and lack of supplies wearied them. They were relieved by the British soon after, and then Tobruk fell to the Axis powers in June 1942. However, Tobruk was recaptured by the Allies in November of 1942 and held by the Allies until the end of the war. This ensured the security of the Suez Canal and the oil in the Middle East, giving the Allies a major advantage in the Second World War.